On yesterday's episode, we talked about how the pick number 4 is going to be the headline for the Chicago Bulls, and pick number 15 is really going to highlight how deep the evaluation process goes for Bryson Graham and his team. On today's episode, I want to talk about the possible talent in round 2 for the Chicago Bulls, as they do have pick number 38 and pick number 56 in the second round. And while I don't know if the Bulls are going to take both those picks, there's some real talent in the second round that I think could help the Chicago Bulls both now and some picks that would have to take some development and help them in the future. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that. Plus, we talk about rumors that many of Billy Donovan's former staff could stay on. Even one could interview to be the next head coach, and dive into the mailbag. All that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. Also, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. We just passed 30,000 subscribers. Another 300 of you guys have already subscribed to the channel. I know I'm in everybody's algorithm because I post every single day, but make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal to get to 50,000 subscribers and become the number one most subscribed Chicago Bulls channel on the platform. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content where I want to talk about what to do with the second round picks for the Chicago Bulls. One of the things that we do best, better than any channel for the Chicago Bulls, is we cover the draft in depth, right? And that's mainly due to the fact that I do love basketball, all versions of basketball. I watch international and college basketball a lot when it comes down to it. And in a draft like this where it's very deep. Now, I do think the draft has lost some of that depth, right, with some players choosing to go back to college. I do think there are some players still in this draft that at pick number 38 are going to be able to help the Chicago Bulls. And with the Bulls having 2 picks in the second round, they can move up if they identify a talent, right? The Bulls need depth. They need toughness. They need some developmental pieces as well. Some players that they can get at crucial, at kind of looked at as, maybe throwaway picks that actually end up developing into actual NBA talent. And I think pick number 38 could either be used on high floor, big, which there are some in this, or an upside stretch center or wing as well in this draft, or even guard when it comes down to that one. So I think when you look at it with Bryson Graham in the front office, they have to win in the margins in the NBA draft, right? That's where the special sauce kind of happens at the draft for a lot of teams. And pick number 38, and by no means is going to be a headline, but this is where good front offices separate themselves from average ones and being able to find value in the second round. So with that said, I want to talk about some of the players that stand out at the top of that second round that some may be off the board before the Bulls pick. But like I said, if the Bulls really want to be aggressive about going out there and getting that talent, I think they can do that. Now, with all the second round picks that the Bulls have, they can be aggressive about moving up in this draft. And without that, even so, right, like just the 2 picks they have in the second round in this draft, they can be very aggressive. So I identified a couple of players that I think are worth it, right? Number 1, Tarris Reed Jr. He's the first player that I want to bring up here. Now, his draft is anywhere from low first round to beginning of the second round, depending on how you look at it. 6'11", 265-pound center, a big that I really like. His strong frame really stands out into it. He brings legitimate physicality in the paint. And if the Bulls do go, Cam Boozer and Cameron Carr, for example, at pick number 4 and 15, both addressing a forward and guard next to Josh Giddey, you could try to get your center here in the second round. And Tarris Reed Jr. is a guy that I like. Not an explosive vertical athlete at all, right? But I think he does move really well for his body type and style when it comes down to that. Has really good hands around the rim. And I say this as well, like he has a nice passing feel for himself as well when he recognizes how to get the ball and when to get the ball out of his hands as well. There are some concerns with him, right? And that's why he can go to the second round here, is that his shooting range is not great. The vertical pop is not good. The foul discipline is not really good. And he has no left hand at all to be mentioned about. But with that said, he's not the modern stretch big type that teams like nowadays, that a lot of teams are going towards. But every team needs players that can set a tough screen, that can rebound, that can defend, and that can force stuff and actions around the rim. That is what Tarris Reed Jr. has the possibility of being in the NBA, and it's a guy that I really love potentially here for the Chicago Bulls. I think that, we'll see what the Bulls do. We haven't really heard a lot about them, interviewing or, bringing in guys for workouts yet that are going to go to the second round. That's going to get handled. I think they really want to go through this process. But that second round, I think you're going to know the players that they're going to be interested in. The way that he sets screens is going to be such an important part for any team that he goes to, because he can do that really early on. And this not only sets a screen, but he's a smart roller to the basket as well. You have smart passers like Josh Giddey on the team. I think they're going to be able to get him the ball in space, and that's going to really help him out as well, get around there. And I think that really, the defensive versatility there is really big for him also. This guy's a big, powerful center. He brings real value as just that interior piece. And I think we see in the playoffs, as well, with like Paul Reed for the Detroit Pistons and what he's doing for that team and other stuff, like having a really solid bench big that maybe even is limited offensively. It really does help you out. Tarris Reed Jr. is definitely somebody who should be in the Bulls board, in my personal opinion. Next up, Zuby Ejiofor. Now, this is a forward, played in St. John's. He was in Kansas before that. 6'9", 245 pounds. So doesn't have like the lumbering size that you look at when it comes down to that. But again, toughness, motor, dirty work. That is the way to look at Zuby Ejiofor. He brings all of those type of things. This is a guy that has that physicality, high energy guy as well, right? You talk about a bench big, even if he never develops into a starter for you, I think there. And thing I love about Zuby Ejiofor as well, he projects to be a player that doesn't need the ball a lot to impact the game. A strong post defender, a tough interior competitor. Even if he doesn't get the number of blocks that you look at, he's going to be able to protect that rim as well. Something that you look at for as well in this is that, he doesn't create for himself. He's going to be heavily relying on his guards to create for him. But a lot, again, it's the second round. You're not going to find a perfect prospect that can do all those things, there, and that's fine, right? But I think that, the limited self-creation is not there. He has no really range on that shot. Cool with it. And like most bigs, especially in the second round, the foul discipline is going to have to drastically be worked on, but I don't mind it. Ejiofor feels like the type of player that Chicago would love, a guy that does the dirty work, a player that the coaches would love as well, right? Because he brings energy, he brings toughness, he brings physicality, and you don't have to have any type of offense built around him or for him. He's going to go out there and get it in the mud. And that's something that Bryson Graham did say that we want here, is getting it in the mud. And I think that Zuby Ejiofor brings all of that kind of toughness, that dirty work that you look for a modern big, especially that you get in the second round, with some still upside as well. I like Zuby Ejiofor a lot potentially for the Chicago Bulls here. Next up, Henri Veesaar. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about Henri Veesaar, and that's why I put him on this list. I want to be very clear here. This guy may be the most raw guy in this draft overall. Veesaar, I think it's Veesaar. Veesaar is going to take a lot of work. But with that said, 7-footer, was in North Carolina before transferring to Arizona. He has more mobility, projects to have more of that. I do think he has, some skill there as a stretch potential big there as well. This guy can run the floor. He can attack closeouts. He understands how to play within the flow of the offense, which I think is a really important thing. And as a weak side defender, I think that's where he's going to make his bread or butter at potentially in the NBA. I think he has a really good foundation as a pick and pop player, and he can trail and hit the three also when it comes down to that. Some of the concerns about him is he doesn't really deal with physicality very well, right? And, Bulls fans are quick to call somebody soft, and, it comes down to that one. He's not the most consistent rebounder either, and his defensive discipline as a whole, it lacks some things. But he is a true long-term upside pick there. If he adds strength, he becomes that reliable shooter. I can see him turn out, but he may be a guy that has to spend a year or so in the G League. And I know for a lot of Chicago Bulls fans, they don't want to hear that, but it may end up being there. This would be the developmental swing. This is the player that you would pick in this draft, and you would look at and say, he may not be ready year one, but year two, year three, we can have something there. And I think if the Bulls really do believe in whatever developmental plan and system they set up here in Chicago, Henri Veesaar is definitely a player that could be on the board for the Chicago Bulls, right? But because he can develop into the modern type of big that you want on a team, he's definitely worth a shot there, especially at number 38. If he falls as low to number 56, 56, where not a lot of mocks have him falling towards, it would be a steal at pick number 56. I want to be clear in that. It would be an absolute steal at 56 if the Bulls are able to get Henri Veesaar there. So a guy that definitely I think needs to be on players' boards or fans' boards and take a look at his tape. And then the last guy that I have on my list. Now, this is more so for pick 58 if he even stays in this draft, and that's Andrej Stojaković. Now, you guys know I'm an Illinois guy. Shout out to Fighting Illini Central, which I need to get back to doing that podcast a little bit more consistently. But Andrej Stojaković is a player that I really like as a developmental guy, because I think if he goes back to college, which still I'd say is probably the likelihood of it, he's probably going to go back to college. But if he does go back to college, I can see himself developing into being a first-round pick if he goes back and really works on his game. A little bit disappointing season for him in Illinois, his first year there. But I do think this guy projects to be a legit NBA wing. 6'5.5" right, when it comes down to that one. But his ability to slash and his ability to get downhill are things that you can see really turning into him as an NBA weapon. I also think he has a really good mid-range game, right? And his footwork in that mid-range to get himself open is really advanced for what it is. He also projects to be a player that can guard multiple positions because he has good quick feet, and he has really good length as well, right? Of course, many people will know he's Paige Stojakovic's son. That doesn't only mean he's going to work out, but I do think there. One of his major concerns, though, is his outside shooting. He has no really outside shot yet, right? So I think he's going to have to improve both as a shooter, his strength wise as well, if he's going to want to turn into an NBA player. But if he's there at number 56, I would take him, no questions asked, because I think he's interesting because, of course, people are going to think shooting because of his dad, but he's more of a downhill slashing wing player that I think could really develop. Now, I don't know if he ever turns into a starter or anything like that, but at that taking a shot at that at number 56, I'd really be willing to do that if I'm the Chicago Bulls. So with that said, I look at it like this, right? It depends on what type of player that the Bulls want to target in the second round, right? You can go three different ways at pick number 38. You can go high floor, right, which is Reed, Ejiofor. Those guys have high floors. You can go developmental, kind of more of a modern developmental big in Henri Veesaar, or you can go pure upside, and that's the player like Stojaković, right? Those are the three ways that you can go in the second round. And the Bulls, it really comes down to how Bryson Graham and his team really evaluate the second round. This pick, I think, should be about clarity and a developmental path and how you view that, right? Don't chase excitement here if you're Bryson Graham. Look at translatable skills and how you think you can develop that, right? And that's the thing that I look at. At pick number 38, I'm not looking for a flashy guy. I'm looking for a player that can turn into an NBA player that has one or two NBA skill sets that you can develop and see what level of player that they can turn into. So let me know what you guys think on that part down below. Last topic before we get into the mailbag portion is that it's been now reported by K.C. Johnson that some of the people that were on Billy Donovan's staff could end up staying on. And I think that makes sense when you look at Wes Unseld Jr. and Dan Craig, as both those guys have been heads of player development. They're really good assistants, not really kind of guys that you would project to be head coaches. Wes Unseld's already failed as a head coach. So I think that those guys staying on as assistants, especially if you get a more young, unproven coach, makes sense. So if you do go the Chris Quinn, the Johnny Bryants, the Rajon Rondos, if you go those guys, they make sense because they're veteran assistants that have respect around the league. Even if you do go a more veteran option, which, those guys may not even come here, but even if you go those guys like a Micah Nori, who's been around the league for a long time, a Sam Cassell, who's been an assistant for a long time, having those veteran head coaches that assistant coaches that they have seen themselves in, that also really works out as well. The one thing that kind of worried me about this rumor was K.C. Johnson saying that Wes Unseld could interview for the head coaching position. I don't want that as all. I'm out. I'm not in on Wes Unseld as a head coach. But if you're telling me Wes Unseld and Dan Craig could stay on as assistants under the right head coach, and that head coach wants to keep them on, I'm more than open for that. But I wanted to address that rumor as part of today's episode as well. But let's go ahead and get into these voicemails for today, man. On weekend, it's all built around mailbag episodes. Let's get into these voicemails that we have for today. This one's from Savon.
What's up, Haize? This is Savon. Hey, man, we need intervention, bro, because the shit I've been seeing from these Bulls fans is out of hand, bro. Like, I just need people to stop talking when they don't understand shit, okay? I'm seeing shit like trade the number 4 pick for Giannis. Trade the number 4 pick and Patrick Williams for John Morant and number 3. Why the fuck would why would either team even do that shit? Or then I'm seeing people say, oh, let's build a team of Giddey, Cameron Carr, Modest Buzelis, Caleb Wilson, and Jalen Smith. Motherfucker, there is a cap floor you have to reach. You can't just have multiple people on rookie deals and low contracts. You need to spend some money. You feel me? Like, I just don't understand it. Or the people that's saying, oh, let's get Kessler and Peyton Watson and draft 3 prospects and do all that. It's like, bruh, like it's very hard to overpay for 2 restricted free agents and have 3 draft picks while still having contracts on your team and fitting that all under in one thing. Like, I just need people to do research. I need people to open up numbers. If you want to talk about contracts or signing this dude or doing that, open up these numbers and do the math. Educate yourself on cap floor. Educate yourself on cap room, exceptions, everything. I know everybody ain't going to do that, but it's just annoying. But I'm telling you, the number one thing that's pissing me off the most is these trades, bruh. These trades is out of hand, bruh. I don't see for what reason why we have people that exist that want to trade the number 4 pick for Giannis Antetokounmpo, bruh. Giannis, bruh. Like, the man is in his 30s, bruh. Like, can you just be grateful that we got this top 4 pick, take that and move on and build with this young player? Like, damn, bruh. Y'all really be killing me with this shit, bruh. That's all I gotta say. All right, though. Peace.
I will say this. When we first got the number 4 pick and the let's trade for Giannis talk happened, I was so disappointed in Bulls fans. I was so disappointed in Bulls fans in that, people who said let's trade for Ja, stop that too. Like, stop all of that, right? I do understand that the offseason is fun for fans because everything's possible, the rumors, the speculation, all that type of stuff. Hell, that's why we have a Discord. By the way, make sure you guys go to the Chicago Bulls Central Discord. Check that out. But it's all for that, and I understand that. I understand the reasons why that's there, right? But I think also just to forget all of that for a second is that you need to still be in reality. And I love that you called it out. Actually go and look at how these salary cap structures work. Actually go and look at how roster spots work. Actually go and look at the balance of the team. I can't tell you it's not enough how many people still say things like, oh, we're still guard heavy. We have Rob Dillingham, Trey Jones, and Josh Giddey as guards on the roster. That's it. Isaac Okoro, if you want to label him a guard. People are like, oh, the Bulls can't draft a guard. Why another guard? We're so guard deep. We're not that anymore. Jaden Ivey's gone. Colin Sexton and Anthony Simons are unrestricted free agents. We don't even know if they're going to come back, right? Like, the days of the Bulls being a guard-heavy team right now isn't reality. So sometimes fans just need a little bit of a wake-up call. And, that's just the reality of it. Let's see if they can get that done. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Alex.
Hey, what's up, Haize? It's Alex from New Jersey. I just wanted to say, first of all, Bulls Nation all day, every day. I was watching the draft the other day, draft lottery, and I seen this jump from 9 to 4, and man, I was jumping around all fucking giddy and all that shit. I was happy as hell. But I've seen a lot of people still unhappy that, we might end up with Boozer and not end up with Wilson. But, people got to understand, either way, this is a win-win situation for us. We jumped up 5 spots. We have possibly a generational talent coming our way. And now I'm hearing rumors that we might trade away Josh Giddey. Me personally, I would not want to trade away Josh Giddey, but looking from Bryson Graham's point of view, maybe he wants to start fresh, bring in his own guys. Hopefully they keep zealous if they do ended up trading away Josh Giddey. And I was watching the daily episode today with the 15th pick. It might not possibly be a center that we pick up and another guard that we do pick up, which is okay because I don't think we're picking back up Anthony Simons or Colin Sexton, to be honest. We could always trade away Trey Jones for more draft capital. And if it's possible, if we really wanted to get off the Patrick Williams contract, we could package that 15th pick with him. Me personally, I would just say keep him, let that shit run out. But I just wanted to say, people have to be grateful that we have the 4th pick, man. We went into a reset and we got really lucky getting this 4th pick. We're going to get a generational talent. Although, Boozer isn't my favorite one of the top 4, he could still be an offensive juggernaut. He brings defense and he brings the front court that we desperately need. Pair him with Buzelis. You got great wings there. And all we would need is a center and just build from there. I think we would need another year of just straight rebuilding. Let these guys grow together, maybe 2. No need to rush it. No need to rush this at all, man. But anyway, go Bulls, Bulls Nation. Let's fucking get it, man.
I get that people have their preference, right? Hell, I have my preference. I said it before, is that Cam Boozer is probably my least favorite player of the players that are slated to go in the top 4. But let's get real for a second here. He's still a great prospect. And even if he does have some flaws, like, you can't deny the level of talent influx that would be for the Chicago Bulls. So, it's fine to have your favorites in there. That's all going to happen. But I think people also need to wake up to the fact that the Bulls pick 4th, meaning that they don't necessarily have a say unless you trade up. Bulls fans also don't want the Bulls to trade assets to trade up. So you're going to take whoever's there, right? You kind of have to do that in that case. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be the wrong guy, right? We'll see. As far as the P. Will contract, people who say things like Bryson Graham, the first thing he needs to do is trade P. Will's contract. I don't think that they realize that you would have to give up a decent asset to get off P. Will's contract with 3 years remaining on that contract. P. Will's contract isn't hurting the Bulls right now. We have the most cap space in the league. Now, if it gets to a point where you want to sign 2 of these big restricted free agents and you have to get off P. Will's contract to be able to make that happen, then that's when you can be like, listen, we could throw 5 second-round picks at you. Just take P. Will's contract. Don't send us anything back. And we thank you for that. Like, you can do stuff like that then, but we're not at that stage right now necessarily. So I think people need to pump their brakes a little bit on that one. P. Will's contract it's not as limiting as some of the other contracts around the league. That's what I can say with that one. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Indigenous Fire King.
What's up, CEO Haize? This is Indigenous Fire God. I was just leaving a voicemail, you know what I'm saying? It's talking about, like, I'm just so happy that we got the number 4 pick. And that things looking like it's going to be different, you know what I'm saying, in the years to come with us. But I definitely want to talk about, you know what I'm saying, that I'm just happy that we definitely got the number 4 pick. But and that I see people complaining about the Boozer thing or the Caleb, or, you know what I'm saying, that it'd probably be a bust if we don't get Caleb Wilson. But I just want to remind people of, you know what I'm saying, since they talking about his athleticism. And that I want them to, you know what I'm saying, remember a guy that they said the same thing about that won 4 championships. And that was Mr. Fundamentals, Tim Duncan. And you know what I'm saying? And y'all talking about Caleb Wilson that y'all talking about that got the Kevin Garnett archetype. But if people remember, Tim Duncan used to get at work to Kevin Garnett with just straight fundamentals. So I just want people to, you know what I'm saying, pump their brakes on that, because no matter who we get, they definitely will fit in with us. And it definitely be better than what we had and what we've been having as far as picks in the draft. And another thing, you know what I'm saying, I want to, you know what I'm saying, kind of talk about, like, far as the second round, I definitely like that young boy, Cameron Carr. Definitely like him. You know what I'm saying? If we look at, you know what I'm saying, as far as like a shooting guard / small forward, you know what I'm saying, with the wingspan, and, you know, and definitely like, you know, and he's a good defender and he can, shoot. As long as he put on some size, he'll be good too. But, no, I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, mind going that route or getting us one of those centers and on that 15 pick. But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to say, like, man, I'm a long-time subscriber. I'm pretty much in the background. I comment here and there, but man, I just want to say, man, I appreciate you, man, and your show, your content, man. As I'm moving on this road as a truck driver, you know what I'm saying? That's definitely, you know what I'm saying, I love hearing. And you just basically kind of keep me up on the news. I'm going to just keep it short like that. You basically keep me up on the news, and you're going to start hearing me leaving more voicemails in the future. All right, talk to you later.
First of all, bro, I need to say this. Nobody's calling you that. Like, you need to pick a different name. Like, nobody is saying that every time you call in. Like, bro, your mama named you Phil. We're going to call you Phil. Like, come on. Like, even if you want to pick a nickname, that's what you want to go with. Come on, bro. Let's get that shit together. But to get into your voicemail, people are going to complain one reason or another. It is what it is, right? The Bulls drafted number 4. This is a huge opportunity for this franchise to move up. Get the best player available. Get the player that you could pick, develop them, turn them into whatever you can. And then it comes down to sometimes, as you said, the less exciting player ends up being the player that has the most success, right? So, you know, I love Caleb Wilson. I love Caleb Wilson on this team. I like Cam Boozer. I'm not going to act like Cam Boozer and what he does with all the facets of the game. And, you know, I'll say this too. The people that compare Cam Boozer to Carlos Boozer, you're stupid. You just haven't actually looked at his game. You haven't actually looked at his game at all to say something stupid like that. So, I think what it comes down to, we'll see, right? But as far as Cameron Carr, he's not going in the second round now. Like, now people are talking about him like maybe he can sneak into the lottery. Now, the benefit of that, right, is that if he goes in the lottery a couple of picks later, that may push somebody else that was supposed to be in the lottery down. So we'll see what happens with that one. All right, let's get into this last voicemail for today. This one's from Sean.
What up, Haize? Sean calling from VA. I'm excited, man. Bryson Graham's in the building. We got a top 4 pick. We got number 15. We got 38. I was listening to Locked On Bulls this morning on my way to work with the episode with Vaughn. Dude's awesome. I love his takes. But here's what I think. At 4, if I had to pick, if Wilson's still there, I wouldn't be mad at Wilson or Boozer. I prefer Wilson. I like the athleticism a little bit better. I know Boozer is a proven winner, so I'm okay with that too. But at 15, if he is still there, I've been really high on LeBaron Philon. The dude can get buckets, man. I know people may think he's small because of the size and whatnot, but the dude can get buckets. I've watched him all at Alabama. He knows how to win. He could play well with Josh Giddey, and if Josh Giddey is not the answer, there you go. I don't think we should trade Josh Giddey. I think the people saying that are kind of weird. Like, why would you walk away from a 23-year-old who can average a triple-double damn near every game? But that's just my thoughts, my take. Y'all have a good one. See Red Bulls Nation. New era is coming. I believe it. Let's go.
I wouldn't hate LeBaron at number 15. I wouldn't hate for that at all, right? Like, I think, with a player like Cameron Carr, who's now talked about maybe even being a lottery pick, it could push somebody like LeBaron down into pick number 15. I think the fact that the Bulls sit right there at that first pick outside the lottery, it gives them an opportunity that, hey, if anybody overthinks any of these guys in the lottery, it gives you an opportunity to be the first team to look at them and take one of those guys, right? Like, if a Damar does somehow fall out of the lottery, even though he's slated to go there, you can do that. If it is LeBaron Philly, hell, if Yaxel Lindenberg somehow falls out of the lottery, which I don't think he'll do, but if teams overthink it, you have an opportunity there. You have that first pick outside the lottery, which means that you have your choice at the best players in that lottery once you come out of it. So see what the Bulls end up doing with that one. I think what the Bulls have potentially here with their draft selections and their picks, they have an opportunity to really help turn this team around. Let's hope that they can get it done and that we can move forward as a franchise and make the right decisions, man. Like, that's really what this comes down to for Bryson Graham and his staff. Get it done right, man. Don't AK this shit up. Let's hope that that's the case. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all, man. Like I said, this draft is a lot deeper than number 4, and it's even deeper than number 15 as well because, yes, those picks are going to matter the most, but at pick number 38, you can still be where Bryson Graham finds a player that can be a long-term Bull. Tarris Reed because of the size, the rebounding, the screening that he can set. Zuby Ejiofor as the toughness, the motor, all those type of things. Henri Veesaar and Stojaković as huge upside swings. Like, these are players that make sense, right? And so let's see what they do with it. As far as the coaching staff, I can't wait to we start getting some actual rumors on that coaching staff. But I want to hear down from you guys down below. Who are some of your favorite players in the second round? And how do you feel about Wes Unseld and Dan Craig possibly staying on as assistants under the new coach? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.